Hi everyone, welcome to In the Middle, and today I'm joined by Chairman of the Malaysia Digital Chamber of Commerce, Chris Daniel Wong. Thank you so much for joining us today. Well, Chris, it's March
It's March,
2024.
SST month.
Happy SST month, everybody. Before we dive into SST and the hike effective 1st of March, let's talk about the decline in our ringgit. We know that we are experiencing a sharp depreciation, dipping to levels that we have not seen since the Asian financial crisis, and now a single US dollar now buys 4.78 ringgit, demonstrating a substantial increase from just 4.36 a year ago and 3.3 10 years ago. So what do you think is causing this situation?
Well, 10 years ago when it was 3.3, I was so happy. Because we always think that it will goes back down to 2.4, 2.5. I grew up at the age, when I grew up, it was 2.4 or 2.5. And Sing dollar at the time was 1.4 or 1.6 at that time. But that was 20 years ago. 20 years ago. So we need to understand one thing very aptly. In the last 10 years, all major currencies in the world had depreciated against the US dollar. If you look at the Chinese renminbi, it has depreciated 15%, Euro 21%, Sing dollar is 6%, and Indonesian rupiah is 26%. But the worst is Malaysia, 31%. Now, if you look at Sing dollar, why Sing dollar has always they didn't depreciate much, but 6%. 6% is not that significant as compared to 30, 31. It is because they have pegged their currency against US dollar. Malaysia, when we pegged the currency against US dollar, 3.8, right after the Asian financial crisis, and right after we actually opened up it again in 2011 or 12, then our $1 US dollar can buy, it goes down to 3.3 per Malaysian ringgit. It is because of the fundamental. While the economic fundamental continue to show resiliency, all right, but there is two. One is interest rate, and the other second is quantitative easing, QE we call it.
Okay.
So if you look at if you look at what we call that. QE. First, we look at QE. In 1970, there is about, if I'm not mistaken, there is about 41 billion of ringgit being circulated in the market.
What about now?
As compared to now,
Yeah.
Yes, we have 4.1 billion, not 41. We have 4.1 billion ringgit circulated in the market in 1970. Now we got 2.4 trillion ringgit.
That was 1970?
That was 1970. We
Okay.
got 4.1 billion ringgit circulated in the market.
All right.
But obviously that time the population was probably 10 million, 12 million.
Okay.
Right now population is 34. So, but we have more currencies circulated in the market, 2.4 trillion. Now people will say because we have more people, we need more money.
Yeah, more supply in the market.
More supply of
Yeah.
money in the market. That's not really true.
Okay.
That's why I bring this into the picture.
Yeah.
It is because we have done so much stimulus program. Back in COVID days,
All right.
we have done the SRF, SME relief scheme program where every company get 500,000 loan, whatever. So where does this money comes from? It is through printing.
Yeah.
If you look at the MGS, Malaysia Government Guaranteed Security, which is Malaysian bond, every week you look at a website, Bank Negara website, our bond is traded at $10 million, $20 million. We don't have enough cash to continue to pay our bills.
Yeah.
As like for example, government supplemental bills, government budgetary infrastructures,
Okay.
Interest by the government. So we print more money in order to, in order to cover the costs.
So we have the supply that is great right now. That's why it leads to the depreciation in our ringgit, the value of our ringgit. What else besides the
second
supply?
part is the interest rate.
Yeah.
Prior to COVID, if I remember 2014 or 15, our base lending rate, or right now we call it base rate, is about 6%, 6%. It did goes up to 6.5, 6.75 at one point in time. So At that time, you can see that our ringgit was strong, 3.8, 3.7. But now, our interest rate is low. And our interest rate does not match with the interest rate in the US.
Okay.
Why the US currency becomes stronger? It is because their interest rate is at all-time high. So when interest rate is high, it makes borrowing difficult. There is not much liquidity in the market, primarily because, people find it difficult to borrow and the rate is so high. That is why the currency becomes strong. So at this present moment, when our interest rate is so low at 4% or 5%, people doesn't want our money.
Okay.
Because it doesn't have value, because the interest rate is low. That is investor perception, or that is people who wants to trade our currency perception. But coming back to our low interest rate, so as long as Bank Negara does not increase the overnight policy rate and interest rate, our currency will remain depreciated. Now, there's another school of thoughts. When you increase interest rate, definitely people who got car loan, like you and me, people who got housing loan, like you and me, we will find that our housing loan and car loan it will increase because the base rate increases. But again, that is how economy work. You must definitely sacrifice something to get something. Now we want low repayment, but we want a strong currency. It doesn't work that way, actually. It doesn't work that way. No matter how much, MITI always come up with data. Our export increase how much? How much?
Okay.
But people say we export so much. Means that people is buying our ringgit. But how come our currency is still low? The more you increase export, it doesn't mean that your ringgit become higher. The interest rate and export must go in tandem. Both must go in tandem. It's like husband and wife lah. It's like husband and wife. Let's look at Bangladesh. It has one of the lowest currency in the world, right? They export a lot of garments to Europe, to US. Does it mean that their currency becomes stronger? It does not. So the fallacy of you export more, people buy more ringgit in export, and then your currency goes up, it does not happen that way. It has to go in tandem with both interest rates, quantitative easing, and also export. It has to go in tandem.
It has to be in sync, So, okay, Chris, thank you for clarifying that. I want you to comment on something. I remember back in 2022, right, our current Prime Minister, he commented that the declining ringgit shows that the world was losing confidence in Malaysia, right? And now we have the Prime Minister urging all quarters to stop politicizing this issue, to stop criticizing and stop attacking over the ringgit's decline. What's your take on this?
Well, there's a mismatch of statement. I can see that when he was opposition and now he's in government, there's a mismatch, as we can see, of statement. But what is important that he did recognize that there is an urgency to actually uplift the ringgit again, all right, through economic reforms. Now, I do applaud him. I need to applaud him that the subsidy removal is one step forward. And besides that, the taxation on various levels is also one step forward.
Okay.
Then that will actually, that is one component, not all, that can actually bring the ringgit up again, actually.
All right.
Now, if you look at those days, people says that, or opposition says that ringgit decline, investor lose confidence. But right now, you can also says that ringgit is cheap, not decline. Ringgit is cheap. People can come invest into Malaysia cheap.
Okay.
So it's two school of thoughts. Neither is right, neither is wrong, actually. Let's look at Turkish lira. Turkish lira, I don't know, and Russian ruble. They have depreciated so much, 20 times of their value.
All right.
But yet, you can see that investors still go in because cheap labor as compared to US dollar, because materials are cheaper. So there's another school of thoughts on that.
Do you think that's gonna be the case for our country?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
So it's not so rosy.
No.
And it's not as
because we have not fixed our education system, especially the vocational education system.
Okay.
You see, back in Germany, I visited Germany before. I went to Airbus. I visited Airbus. People make aeroplanes body.
All right.
This guy has no degree.
Okay.
They have no degree, but they're engineers.
All right.
They graduated from technical college, technical universities.
Okay.
They don't have a business degree or MBA. But these guys are expert in what they're doing.
Yeah.
So over here, we have a lot of experts in probably E&E, electrical electronics. We have a lot of experts in oil and gas.
Okay.
Because that is our main industry drivers.
All right.
Okay, but we don't have much experts in other fields. Like for example, AI.
Okay.
Right? Singapore Parliament debates talk about AI. Malaysia Parliament talk about what? You and I know, okay? So our parliamentarian is not talking about progressive policies on educations.
Yeah.
So we need people. So until we have a generation of workforce that can actually,
So you're saying that in a way, you're saying that unless and until we build the capacity.
yes,
Yeah.
it's like we go back to Pat last time. He has a
Yeah.
very good policy, but it was not followed through properly. Right,
Okay.
the K economy, the knowledge workers. That's where we focus on robotics engineers. We focus on shippings, yard maintenance engineers. We focus on agriculture engineers. So we are very lacking in behind. You go to our local universities, most of our students doing what? Finance, accounting, business, engineering, IT. These are the 5 wajib subjects that they do. But do we see kids screaming at mom, I want to do agriculture. I want to do shipping engineering. Or I want to do AI or whatever, IT programming, whatever. We don't. Because our society is conditioned as such. So unless there's a mindset change, there's a paradigm change, I don't think we can go anywhere.
Thank you so much for that interesting
I
insight.
give you another
Yeah.
example. We
Because-
brag Tesla is
Yeah.
coming in. It's just a service center.
I know. So you see, people may wonder, what has education, and our capacity has to do, with the future of economy. But it has everything to do.
I
with
told
the
my son,
future.
I told my own son,
Yeah.
when you finish your O level or Form 5, you should go and do a technical based program first, a technical degree. Have a technical as your sounding board when you go out to work. Then you go and do your MBA, go into management.
Okay.
So you have best of both worlds, a technical skills on hand to make sure you can cari makan,
All right.
and then an MBA to go into management. That's how parents should be educating their kids and implant in their minds from young that they should do that. But unfortunately, our education system doesn't do that.
So in a way, we're saying that what you're saying is for our economy to also have the kind of dynamism, to have the technical soundness and also the capacity to grow with the times, right? With global economy as well. Thank you for that, Chris. But let's move on. Again, we talk about it being March already, and we see SST hike. When do you think we will see the repercussions of this SST hike from 6% to 8%?
That's a very good question.
Yeah, and for many industries from 0 to 6%.
We will see the repercussion end of March or early of April. Now we don't see it
Okay.
because a lot of stocks is still old stocks. Like for example, you go to grocery stores, the milk that you buy is still old stocks, right? The sardine can that you buy is still old stocks, all right? But definitely old stocks will be replenished by new stocks, right?
Yeah.
So many people say 2%, but they didn't see 2% divided by 6% is equivalent to 33% increase. So our SST has increased by 33%, not 2%. We call it the effective rate. 2 divided by 6, the effective rate of increase is actually 33%.
Oh,
All right?
wow.
So, which means that all across the board, services sectors that need to impose SST will need to increase the cost by 33% onto us.
So that's impacting on business costing and business
Yes,
considerations.
yes.
Yeah.
Now, the 33% is not solely just on that particular items or what. I'm talking about the SST. Now, there is 2 ways of looking at it. First, you go to a shop, all right? No, not you go to a shop. You are planning to go to a shop to makan,
Okay.
okay? But the food, assuming that the food they're going to charge you is 100 ringgit. Where do they source the food? They source the food from a wholesaler. Correct or not? When the wholesaler sell to the shop the raw material, there will be a 6% SST charge already. True or not true?
Okay.
Right? Not in on top of the SST charge, there's a sales tax of 6%. So it's either sales tax 6% or SST tax 6%. You cannot run away. Right? But then you go down further down. When you reach the shop, you have to pay a 6% SST. How much is that? That's 12%. The first 6% is already embedded into the cost of food because you can't see. You only see the bottom 6%. then it become what? It become 12%.
But I thought we have an exemption on F&B.
F&B is still 6%.
Yeah.
The SST is still 6%.
The exemption is for the hike, from the hike of
Yes,
6%
from the
to
hike.
8%.
But the
Yeah.
sales tax is still there.
Okay.
So there's a sales tax, or probably there's an import tax that you can't see.
All right.
Sales tax is, if I'm not mistaken, sales tax is 10% actually. So there's a sales tax 10% on top, and then you got 6% SST tax. So in all, consumer actually pays 16%. All right. Now let's look at the logistic. Previously, logistic 0%.
Yeah,
So right now,
it's 6%.
barang sampai Pelabuhan Klang. Okay. Let's say luncheon meat lah.
Yeah.
Luncheon meat import from China. Arrive where? Port Klang. So from Port Klang, you have to unload from the ship,
Yeah.
and there's a haulier.
Yeah.
There's a truck, the haulier, that will send it to the warehouse.
Yes.
That truck that transport from the ship to the warehouse,
It's now subject to 6%.
6%.
Yeah.
Previously it's 0.
Yeah.
And then from the warehouse, you want to send to the when you clear the
The containers.
when you clear the tax, the custom tax and whatever tax,
okay.
then you have to send it to the wholesaler warehouse. That is only a storage warehouse.
Yeah.
You send it to the wholesaler warehouse. When you send, 6%. Okay, unless that company lorry is yours lah, so 0 lah. But if you use a third party, it's 6% lah.
Okay.
So once you arrive at the wholesaler warehouse, it goes to the departmental stores, the grocery stores. That is another 6%. So in all, the increase is 18%.
Yeah.
So you have the logistic 18%, you have the sales tax 10%, you have the SST tax 6%. So 18 plus 10, 28, 28 plus 6, 34%. So how much will the food prices increase?
So this is definitely going to impact
Yes.
pricing strategies.
Yes.
It's definitely going to increase the overall operational cost. in
I
terms of
remember a
business.
roti canai
Yeah.
back in 2008 was 80 cents. Then 2015 was 150. 2018 was 180. Now it's 220. You take a look 150 to 180. The difference of 30 cents divided by 150 is how much? It's 31%. Correct or not? Then from 180 to 220, the difference is 40 cents. 40 cents divided by 180 is how much? So again, there's almost close to what, 31%. So every time when these small items increase, RM1.8, RM2, RM2 jadi RM2.3, tak apalah 20 sen 30 sen. You don't see tak apalah 20 sen 30 sen. It's like tidak apa attitude, but actually when you really kira that time, you can see 30%,
Yeah.
40%.
So, okay, how do you think this is going to impact consumer spending? I know, I roughly
I only
know
have one
where we're
advice.
going. Yeah.
Eat more less, eat lesser out, eat more at home.
So don't dine in, don't dine in
But it's going to be bad for
restaurants.
F&B, but we have to live with it. That is why in European countries, people only eat out during lunch.
Okay.
But dinner, they go back home and eat. Or sometimes lunch, they pack food.
So bring your own food to work now.
That is going to be the norm already.
Okay.
But again, we need to have the discipline to do it.
Yeah, but then, which also means that it will potentially leave us with less disposable income for other spendings, right?
I spoke
Yeah.
in Astro Avani last Friday. I say that the government is implementing a wage progressive policy so that we call it gaji bermaruah.
Yeah.
We also need to have pengguna bermaruah.
Okay.
It means that we as a consumer, we need to have the dignity to spend. But right now, our disposable income is so low, we don't have the dignity to spend. You imagine you bring your kids to the store. This one cannot, too expensive. That one cannot, too expensive. You cannot provide to your children. So what dignity are you giving to your family? So the government policy have to look into that to build a consumer that has dignity to spend, you see.
Yeah.
But we are not progressing to that. We are regressing.
Okay, so to end and, in conclusion, what do you think is the quick way of fixing this? Is there any way that we can come back from this? Or is there any way that we can fix the situation where we are suffering from the repercussions? Like you said just now, towards the end of March, early April, we're going to see the repercussions of the hiked SST, coming in. What can we do? What can the government do?
Well, in the medium short term and medium long term, let's look at medium short term. Definitely we need to look at the interest rates. It's going to hit a lot of people, but there's no choice. So we need to strengthen the ringgit.
Yeah.
Interest rate is one of them. And also look into sectors that foreigners can invest that can actually appreciate our ringgit up. When the ringgit is strong, our import cost is lower. That is the medium term. All right. I think Johor has done a tremendous good job. The state of Johor, in 2022, they have launched massive data center in Johor. All right, and massive 6 over billion ringgit has been invested. So right now, not Saberjaya, but Johor is actually at the forefront of data science center. And a lot of Singaporeans came in to invest as well. That is one thing that's good because data science work will give you high income job. Right? So again, in the short term, our IT engineers or IT specialists has to be retrained to look into data science, right? So then it will give them more dignified job and dignified pay. That's short term. So I'm talking about financial interest rates. I'm talking about re-educating our workforce, short term. On the medium long term, we need to look at the next generation, our children generation, what we want them to be, what sectors that they what academic program that they should learn so that they can go into those working sectors, employment sectors that can actually boost up
to
the
meet
GDP.
the demands and meet the
Not
demands.
meet the demands one thing, but aptly to meet the GDP output.
Okay.
We need to contribute our workforce to sectors that will meet the high output of GDP. Like for example, Singapore. People say Singapore is great. Of course, it's great. Besides Bank of New York, people transfer money to Singapore and transfer everywhere in the world. So Singapore is the hub of finance, and that is what they are good at, and services and transfer of IT. But over here, what do we transfer? I mean, we always rely on kelapa sawit. We always rely on oleochemical, petrol products, and that is only so much it can do. So there must be. That's why what our Deputy Prime Minister is doing, Zahid Hamidi, is right because he's looking into revamping the TVET program so that the next generation can contribute significantly to the GDP sectors that needs to be contributed.
It's a targeted.
Yes.
Yeah. One. All right. Thank you so much, Chris, for your
Welcome.
insights. I think we need to keep monitoring on the repercussions of SST hike, and also
Because we are in the middle, yeah.
and because we also need to monitor closely the depreciation of ringgit. And we'll come back to this topic again, and we hope to have you back at In the Middle. Thank you so much. If this is your first time here, we are in the middle.
Di pertengahan.
Di tengah-tengah jalan. So happy to have Chris here with us today,
Thank you
and we
very
hope
much.
to explore more economic topics with you in the next episode. Thank you for your time, and please follow and subscribe and like our content. And we welcome any suggestions and any comments. Thank you.